Yo, gang, what's poppin', man? Welcome back to everybody out there, man. Welcome back to Let's Talk Everything 414 podcast. Y'all already know who I am. I am Carnage Slaughter. I am the host, man. You feel me? The number one in Milwaukee right now. Everybody hit that like button, man. Hit that subscribe button. Tonight, I had to go live only because I had some intricate audiobook, passages to go through and allow everybody to hear. You feel me? Allow everybody to be able to tap into and learn a little bit about what I'm learning, what I'm studying, honestly. Uh, and I think it's worth. You know what I'm saying? I think it's worth listening to. The book is called "Other Tongues, Other Flesh." You feel me? Other tongues, other flesh. And the book is by George Hunt Williamson. See, I was already peeping the book. I was watching it. And then every time it seemed like when I come to StreamYard, gang, StreamYard love to hate. No matter what I do when I'm finna drop a recording, gang, StreamYard always F up. Had me believing, it's the internet, whatever it may be. I don't like it. I can't go live whenever I want, how I want to. So, that's irking me. But anyway, the book is called Other Tongues, Other Flesh. A lot of y'all might not know about this book, might not never heard about this book, but it's a good book, man. It's a good book, trust me. Not deep. Those of y'all that walk into the building, take your shoes off, hit that fucking like button. You step into my building. Those of y'all that don't want to hit the back, anyway, god damn it. So let me get started again. Like I said, man, y'all bear with a brother, man.
They are asking, if spacemen are here, why don't they land and contact our leaders? Why don't they explain their mission? Did these same individuals ever stop to think that no sane Earthman would descend into a pit of crawling rattlesnakes? With all Earth strife, with bloody wars that carry thousands of men, women and children to slaughter worse than any circus of Nero or medieval Inquisition, is it any wonder that spacemen have not landed here? However, these brothers from outer space have landed here, and they have contacted those whom they knew would receive them in the spirit of brotherly love and truth. It is now reliably reported that over 100 personal contacts have been made between Earthmen and saucer occupants. They sought and seek those who have been looking for them. This is what they mean when they say, "We do not choose you. You choose us." Would these highly developed beings care to contact those who have held the people in slavery for centuries? No, because their coming to Earth will eliminate all forms of greed and selfishness. The actual owners of the Earth are on the side of the negative dark forces, while the sons of light of the Space Confederation are of a higher authority. And being of a higher authority, they seek out those who love truth and truth alone. Like Diogenes, they search long and unceasingly, but unlike Diogenes, they find a man here and a man there, not many, but some. The people of Earth like to picture themselves as lords of creation. One well-known anthropologist believes that far-off worlds may contain gelatinous masses that control diabolic machines, but of men elsewhere, he positively states, never. Those who do accept life as existing on other worlds believe this life will be much as it is on Earth, vain, full of pride, lust, greed, life that is warlike and aggressive as it is here. While one hand turns thumbs down on the idea of other planets being inhabited, the other hand writes on and on about the inhabitation of other worlds beyond Earth. People have been brought up on Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Superman, and many other fictional heroes of outer space. They have lived in a world of fantasy and make-believe for so long they don't recognize the truth when it is presented to them.
Right.
Yet, our world of fantasy has its purpose. Many gaze at the starry heavens and ask, is it all part of some gigantic scheme? Is there really a creator? Or have we evolved from a single cell that originally developed because of a freak accident in nature? Are we alone in the universe? Reason tells them that out of billions and quadrillions of worlds life must exist on many of them. And those who have complete faith in their Creator realize He wouldn't create man and place him on one planet alone. They know He wouldn't create other worlds to be merely floating balls of poisonous gas or vapor. First came inhabitable worlds, then came man. Men on earth are afraid that if suddenly other men on other worlds are made known to them, they will face awful retribution. That their horrible crimes against humanity and the Creator's laws will not go unpunished. And like naughty children, they are reluctant to give up their dangerous toys and their destructive ways. So, now that their brothers from outer space are here, they are going to hide in a closet until these older brothers go home. Then they can come out and start their foul play all over again. One word of acceptance on the part of Earthmen and these brothers are liable to step in and teach them something, and children never like to go to school, especially if they have to be obedient and good. Yes, there are brothers of ours in the skies overhead. They are not to be worshipped as gods. But they are to be listened to as one listens to an older brother who has traveled much and who knows the pitfalls of life and who has knowledge tempered with love of fellow man and the Creator. This brother of ours is attainable, for he is here on earth today. Will the men of earth accept him? Whether they do or not, it is their right to decide. Since man on earth has arrived at a place where only truth will be able to survive, it is necessary to reaffirm and establish three truths. Namely, 1. Science and religion are one and the same thing. God provided, man divided. There is no religion higher than truth, and truth cannot contradict truth. 2. The entire omniverse is magnetic in nature, and even culture is influenced by the laws of magnetism. 3. Space visitors, coming to Earth in spacecraft, are mentioned in the Holy Bible, ancient mythology, and in other documents thousands of years old.
So now
These visitors have been coming to Earth for several million years.
You see what I'm saying? This book shares this information with us, and this information is clue. You know, I can't lie to y'all. This information is clue, and it's keen to some of the topics and theories that we've been wondering about all our lives, gang. A lot of y'all got to dive into your conscious mind and dive into yourself and get to knowing yourself, who we really are, the powers that lies within us, and all of the above. You feel me? And that's why I'm playing this book for y'all. That's why I'm doing this audio. Now, I know a lot of people, they be hating. They don't come on my channel and hit the like button, and that's cool. But I don't do it for y'all to hit the like button, gang. I'm honestly doing it so y'all can get the message out there. Because it's somebody out there that been searching this information, that wanted to know this type of information. And here it is, gang. It's coming from my channel. And I got it from another brother. You feel me? So at the end of the day, it is what it is. You feel me? Shout out to New Life Tools. You feel me? Because that's why I seen the video at first. And I love putting other brothers and other women on game. You feel me? On life game, metaphysical game, spiritual game, whatever it is that you may need. I love hooking y'all up and hipping y'all to it. So here you go.
They are now making themselves known to the world as a whole to lead mankind thereby into a new age as the earth enters the more intense vibrations of Aquarius. During the 19th century on earth there was a great influx of universal truth. Many fine writings appeared, especially in the late 1800s. These scattered reports and ideas have a definite relationship to each other and tie into the pattern of present-day happenings. Although these various writers use different terminology, they are essentially saying the same thing. They are telling man that he is truly a god in his own right. This knowledge came to a selected few so that they could open the way for the world to awaken to a new age, an air age, to replace the ancient fish or water age. What is the grand goal of it all? There is no...
Y'all listening, you said this knowledge came to a selected few so that they can open the way for the world to awaken to a new age. You feel me? And air age to replace the ancient fish or water age. You feel me? And it also said that man is gods in their own right. What do that technically means? I like to figure that out. What do that technically mean? What do that means?
There's no goal, for we are heading for all perfection, but we will never get there. It is ever moving ahead of us as we progress. What then is the purpose of all our pleasure-pain experiences? We are to know perpetual expanding grandeur. Thereby spirit will come to know itself. In this book, many references and quotations are given from the latest, authentic reports on the saucer phenomena. Because many
The
believe that
saucer
there are
phenomenon.
contradictions in some of the reported happenings, it has been necessary.
So what's the saucer phenomenon? Have anybody out there ever heard of the saucer phenomenon? You know, I really never have heard it. And me personally, I've been trying to figure it out. I never heard of it. You know what I'm saying? I would like to know what it is. It's a few people out there that heard of it. You know what I'm saying? It's a few of them out there that heard of it, gang. You know, and they know exactly what it is. You know, I like to know what it is. Maybe this book gonna tell us a little more about it. Let's keep going.
To show that there is a great story and a purpose behind all of these experiences. These same things have been taking place for eons. Some may wonder why I refer to the Holy Bible so often in this book. It is true that the Bible is inaccurate, but not totally so. For the most part, it is the true history of a particular time and people. In order to get an accurate picture of the saucer phenomena, every possible avenue of investigation into the past and present must be utilized. The author wishes to acknowledge the kind help and encouragement of others, for without them, this book would never been written. Many thanks to Thomas M. Cornelia for suggestions pertaining to magnetism, the universal I Am. To Neva Del Hunter for ideas about the remnant, to George H. Lark for library research on certain sections of the Divine Tetrad, to Lillian Laud for her contribution of the Lemurian interpretation of the tracks on the desert, to Dr. Robert T. Lustig for ideas on the electrochemistry of the blood, to Winchester McDowell for the 2 illustrations of the electronic motion in the atom, to my wife, Betty J. Williamson, for research on the microcosm-macrocosm, and magnetism, the universal I Am, to Frank A. Wing for his ideas about the prophets, and sincere thanks to many others. This book you are about to read is not an ultimate, no book is. It merely points the path, a signpost along the great way that leads to our infinite Father. This work is dedicated to all men everywhere, with the hope that they shall know the truth and the truth shall make them free. Through other tongues, other flesh, may we...
And a lot of people, and I find that crazy. I find that, you know, one of the most hallucinating things ever in life. Like, gang, who wouldn't want to know the truth about where we come from, about consciousness, about your mind, the powers that be that lies within the mind, you know, the powers that be that lies within ourselves. Who wouldn't want to know that? We'd be shocked nowadays to know that it's a lot of cats out there. It's a lot of men and women who do not want to know the truth. You feel me? They don't want the truth to even rub them because they scared. You know, they scared. What you scared of, gang? You see, the life we living in, man, we've been living in lies all this time, and we never was scared to live in these lies. So why is you scared to live in your truth? Why is you scared when the truth come out?
May we learn to pray, Father of us all, give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and hearts to understand. In brotherly love, I humbly submit this work to you. George Hunt Williamson. Book 1, God Provided, Man Divided. 1. The Great Influx. Space visitors put an intensification of the cosmic program into effect in the late 1800s. The 1880s and 1890s saw the program manifest itself in strange phenomena and many books. New inventions and theories were suddenly put before the public. The great plan for the planet Earth moves along on levels of rises and plateaus. We are at present on a rising level. The 1890s experienced a rise, and the following 50 years was a plateau of leveling off time. The movement began before the 19th century, of course, but in a small way. Emanuel Swedenborg, scientist and mystic, brought great new truths to the spiritually hungry world in the 1700s, and there were other men, like Wesley, and before him Spinoza. However, the great mystic, Father Jacob Lorber, was born in 1800. Nikola Tesla, inventor, was born in 1857, Steinmetz, electrical wizard, was born in 1865, Charles Hay Ford, writer and researcher, was born in 1874, Charles Fillmore of Unity, was born in 1854, H. P. Blavatsky brought the great knowledge of theosophy to the world in the 1800s. H. W. Percival gave the world his knowledge, and later, Thinking in Destiny, Dr. John B. Newbrough, in 1882, released his monumental work, OSP. Camille Flammarion, great French astronomer, was born in 1842, and among many others, P. D. Ouspensky, Lecomte du Nouilly, etc. Thus, in the last half of the 19th century, universal truth made a valiant attempt to penetrate the mind of man before the great age of materialism set in with the advent of the colossal machine age. Men like Brown Landwan and Flournoy, who wrote from India to the planet Mars, contributed greatly to this expanding program under the influence of space intelligence.
Well, what they mean, they wrote from India to the planet Mars. Now that's deep. That's different. You know, I got to find out more. I want to know. See, because I ain't checked this book out, y'all. Like I said, I just found out about this book. I'm learning more about it. I've been learning a lot lately. You know, I've been doing just getting in my research bag, basically. You know what I'm saying? Getting in the bag of research. Excuse me, doing my studies, doing my findings and things like that, gang. Trying to pay attention to life itself, you feel me? Which we probably should have been doing. And I think a lot of y'all probably need to pay more attention to life. So let's keep going.
Even John Jacob Astor got in the plan and wrote about the coining electrically governed world and interplanetary travel in 1897. Besides a great influx of universal truth coming to the minds of man, there was a definite program instituted on the physical plane and on the surface of Earth itself. Space visitors were actually deposited and left on our world to mix, mate, and marry with us. The new ideas and theories.
I never heard of that. That's different. Anybody ever heard of that out there, gang? If you have that, brother, in the comment section. Like, I never, honestly. What a lot of people about that. You feel me? I find information, but I never known that. Like, you want to know.
Theories first came out in book form, and this was the prelude to the appearance of spacecraft in the skies of Earth. In our present century, first came the science fiction tales of space travel, then came the actual space visitation. In Paris, France, in 1892, Flammarion said, "We dare to hope that the day will come when scientific methods yet unknown to us will give us direct evidence of the existence of the inhabitants of other worlds, and at the same time, also, will put us in communication with our brothers in space. What marvels does not the science of the future reserve for our successors, and who would dare to say that Martian humanity and terrestrial, Earth, humanity will not someday enter into communication with each other?" Then in 1896, Flammarion wrote Uranie, and in 1897 things really began to happen. Here's the report as taken directly from the old records. Chicago Record, Friday, April 2nd, 1897, see Great Airship. Kansas City, Missouri, people excited. Mystical black object casting before it red light startled whole city for the last 2 weeks. At last descended, 10,000 people swear they have no hallucinations. Scoffers and disbelievers claim the people have been seeing the planet Venus or the evening star, even though according to the almanac this planet should have set below the horizon at least an hour before. Object appeared very swiftly.
So then they try to lie to people, you feel me? The people get to tell them what they seen or what they saw, you feel me? Everybody like, yo, we ain't got no hallucinations. We know what we seen. Now they trying to tell people, look, you could have been looking at the star. You could have been looking at, something else. No, not possibly. Not possibly.
Then appeared to stop and hover over the city for 10 minutes at a time, then after flashing its green, blue and white lights, shot upwards into space, light gradually twinkling away and looking like a bright star. Time, 8:15 p.m. Everest, Kansas has sighted a strange airship. Competent reporters state that this must be the airship that was built in Oakland, California and which broke away at launching time. This giant airship hovered 1/2 hour at a time and descended at regular intervals very close to the Earth. A giant searchlight flooded the whole city with light from this aerial monster which with the velocity of an eagle darted up and away. Power source must have been attached to the light for it dimmed as the ship went up and away. An observer states that there seemed to be a basket or car beneath a great dark object thought to be a gas bag overhead. Car was shaped like a canoe and had 4 wings, 2 on each side, fore and aft. Light was greenish or blue against the light of a locomotive in the rail yard that was yellowish.
Uh,
Colored lights seemed to be all around the car. This unusual craft showed up later in Michigan, but before quoting from the record, let's analyze the above report. First of all, the authorities passed off the entire incident by calling the spacecraft the planet Venus.
so the authorities lie right away. You hear me? And that's what I don't like about the government. Like, why y'all gotta lie about some shit like that? People ain't stupid. You feel me? People ain't stupid. That's something you just can't lie about, man. And this took place back in what 1800s, 1900s. You know, so this stuff been taking place, gang. They just been lying to us the whole time, which is crazy.
That same
Let's keep
thing has
going.
happened in our present saucer saga. They called the object Captain Mantell was chasing Venus, when it couldn't possibly have been that planet. This craft over Kansas City flashed blue-green lights, and this color combination is now predominant
I ain't gonna lie, I gotta look this up though.
in saucer sightings of today. The report goes on to state that the power source must have been attached to the light, for it dimmed as the ship went up and away. It is known today that the speed of saucers has a great deal to do with the color changes. Chicago Record, April 3, 1897, flying machine now in Michigan. People of Galesburg saw a brilliant white light approach from the SW. Object appeared large and black with a crackling, sharp sound. It hovered close to the earth. Reporters state that they heard human voices from aloft, from the airship. When the ship went off, it seemed to be tipped with flame. From the airship to the earth, large and Galesburg, 1897, flying machine now in Michigan. People of Galesburg saw a brilliant white light approach from the SW. Object appeared large and black with a crackling, sharp sound. It hovered close to the earth. Reporters state that they heard human voices from aloft, from the airship. When the ship went off, it seemed to be tipped with flame. Local comment was that the airship had caught fire. Time, 10:00 p.m. Chicago Record, April 6, 1897, airship now into Illinois. Seen first at 8 p.m. m. in NW. Large red light. Suggestions of balloon are refuted because airship flew at tremendous speed into a high wind. Chicago Record, April 7, 1897, airship seen many times last few weeks. Large numbers of people first-hand witnesses. One time, a motorman of a trolley actually stopped his vehicle so he and passengers could look at the wonderful sight.
That was crazy, y'all. As I'm reading this, it says, okay, and it looked fake. In April 1897, John Halley and Adolph Wink of Springfield, Illinois, reported a flying craft of a similar type whose pilot told them that it was a new invention flown at night to attract less attention. The pilot stated he had left Quincy, 100 miles to the west, only 30 minutes earlier, and impossibility for an aerial object of the time. Similar objects were reported in Indiana, where a crew were making on-the-spot repairs. The pilot was tracked down by the press in Martinville, where he made the statement that he had an airship in Browns County undergoing repairs and 3 machines flying in central states of the U.S., while many reports of the time are undoubtedly hoax, dreamed up by local newspapers. Man, they look and say, I'm sorry to say that these crafts are considered to be the first large-scale UFO flight widely reported by the contemporary media. They be lying their ass off, man.
Just ahead of his trolley, the ship seemed about 600 feet up and about 100 feet long. The motorman, Mr. Newville, says it was ellipsoid with large projections fore and aft. There was a bright headlight in front and a red light in the rear. From Hastings, Nebraska, came the report that the airship had been seen in Grand Island, Oxford, York, and Kearney. Scoffers claimed these people had seen Venus, yet all the reporters were people of substance and not given to reporting spurious stories. This all happened in 1897, but we could date it 1956 and it would be right up to date. Today, officialdom tries to explain much of it away as natural phenomena. Airplanes hadn't been invented in 1897, so they explained it away as balloons or Venus. Today they say it's balloons, Venus, or airplanes.
Right.
2,000 years ago they might have called it Apollo, or chariots of fire, or wheels within wheels. Chicago record, April 9, 1897, airship seen in Iowa. Between
Damn.
West Liberty and Cedar Rapids appeared a bright light, giant airship. Steel body. When leaving it appeared to be a large star weaving about, and stars do not weave around the heavens. Chicago record, April 10, 1897, airship sighted over Chicago and Evanston. People are tripping over themselves these days trying to get the best look at this green and white lighted giant airship that has had the people all over the Midwest in a dither. Some people think the end of the world is near. Scientific minds have explained the whole thing away by now. The mystery will surely be cleared up in a few days. Mr. Carr, an aeronaut, has built an experimental balloon and is financed by a New York theatrical wig manufacturing company. Mr. Carr states his machine works marvelously, but cannot go against the wind. Power is storage battery with propeller. Professor Hoff of Northwestern University and head astronomer of the observatory stated when asked to train his telescope on the object, "I am busy with sights on Jupiter and it would be too troublesome to change to look at this new thing." The next day, Hoff said, "The thousands of people that are reporting this so-called strange airship are in reality looking at Alpha Orionis in the constellation Orion." This great scientist was too busy with sights on Jupiter. It would be too troublesome to view for the first time a ship from another world.
Right.
Although he refused to look at the object, he seemed to know exactly what thousands of other people were seeing. How would he know since he only had the advantage of total ignorance? Chicago record, April 12, 1897, giant airship continues over Chicago and environs. People all over the city are in an uproar, and while everyone is viewing this grand sight on the south side, two amateur photographers who are news dealers in Rogers Park, looked out and saw the airship. Their photo shows the Northwestern Railway Station and above it the purported airship. The photographers are Walter McCann and G.A. Overacker. This airship was seen to come in over the lake and traverse the whole city for several days. The same report with an Omaha date line of April city, Overacker at the purported airship. The photographers are Walter McCann and G.A. Overacker. This airship was seen to come in over the lake and traverse the whole city for several days. The same report with an Omaha date line of the whole city for several days above at the purported air out and saw the airship. Their photo shows the Northwestern Railway Station and above it the purported airship. The photographers are Walter McCann and G.A. Overacker. This airship was seen to come in over the lake and traverse the whole city for several days. The same report with an Omaha date line of April 11 says, "A gentleman brags he has mystery airship problem solved. He is an inventor and desires that he be allowed 35 acres to demonstrate his airship for the Trans-Mississippi Exposition." The gentleman didn't sign his name, but the reporter hopes the dilemma will be settled by his promises. The same report again, with a Fort Dodge, Iowa date line of April 11 says, "Old German residents say that this very same type airship came over Germany 30 years before and the people were scared to death. Said the Devil's Army was approaching and these were his vehicles." The same report again, with a Milwaukee, Wisconsin date line of April 11 says, "The residents of Milwaukee cannot be talked out."
And that's my city right there, man. Shout out to Milwaukee, man. Shout out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So as y'all can see, the again with a Milwaukee, Wisconsin date line of April 11th says the residents of Milwaukee cannot be talked out of what they're seeing. That's crazy,
out of what they are seeing. Thousands report the authenticity of a giant, beautiful airship with colored lights. The police records are full of the story, for they have been called to answer what it is. Chicago record, April 13, 1897, airship called a hoax. Several notable citizens are known to have caused airship seen, remains of paper and wood device in wreckage is in their yard. No names given of the notables. The device mentioned was supposed to have been in the wreckage, but another column in the same paper said, airship seen in Rock Island, Illinois and Elkhart, Indiana. How could it have been seen if it was wrecked? Chicago Tribune, April 12, 1897, one chap knows all about the airship. He says, these thousands of people didn't see a steel hull because this is the airship my friend has built in California and is on its way here to Chicago. Although, I must say, he sure has made good time for he isn't due until next week and the hull is paper, not steel. My friend, O. Chanute is on board too and I will introduce all of you to him when he arrives. This chap is the secretary of the Chicago Aeronautical Society, Max L. Harmar. The same strange sightings were made at Sisterville, Virginia. In 1897 and other years, there were amazing observances in Texas. The same old story, isn't it? Thousands of people in America observed this gigantic spaceship, authorities called it Venus or Alpha Orionis, or a balloon. A balloon that couldn't go against the wind, yet the airship did just that. Notice where the report says, scientific minds have explained the whole thing away by now. That's exactly what they have been trying to do since 1947 in the present saga. Also, the idea that these are the devil's vehicles is thrown in as of the present. Not once a mention of their true nature. The 1897 episode is very important. Many space people were landed on Earth at that time. The Wright brothers brought in the air age a few miles away at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina in the same era. It is strange, or is it, that these brothers finally flew their controversial aircraft only a few years removed and a few short miles from the location where the giant, lighted airship of 1897 had made one of its final appearances. After 1897 man progressed more in the coming half-century than he had in the previous 10,000 years. Our progression is due, in part, to intellects coming here from outer space. Great men helped push men's progress ahead hundreds of years in terms of advancement. Where it had taken thousands of years to elapse between the discovery of the wheel and the bow, the greatest discoveries the world had ever seen followed each other in rapid succession. The telephone, electric lights, the radio, wireless, the automobile, the airplane, etc. What actually took place in the 1800s was the first large public demonstration of spacecraft in the modern, industrial age. After the Industrial Revolution there had to be an influx of certain universal truths in order to create a semblance between highly advanced technical skill and undeveloped spiritually. The spaceships or airships of the 19th century were the physical manifestation of that great influx. Communication with extraterrestrial intelligences also began at the same time. The father of wireless, Marconi, in 1921 believed he had intercepted messages from Mars or some point in outer space. The theory that the waves were produced by electrical disturbances was disproved by the regularity of the impulses. Marconi conducted highly secret experiments before 1921 and knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that he was in direct contact with beings of other worlds. A woman in California writes, during World War II was teaching in Scotland. In 1918, headquarters of the YWCA in London wrote offering me the position of head of their branch office in Chelmsford near London. The main station of the Marconi Worldwide Wireless was also there. Many men from Britain died in World War I and it was my job to look out for many young girls away from home. I took room and board with a couple somewhat older than I. The husband was a very intelligent person and had a responsible position with the Marconi Wireless Company. One day, he asked me if I would like to go through the Marconi station. I was delighted to go. During my tour through the laboratories I was startled and almost petrified when we arrived in front of a huge, 10-foot square, transparent case inside of which seemed to be a flaming mass, flames revolving like a wheel. I asked my friend what this was and he said that they had been receiving wireless messages somewhere outside of Earth. I asked him to be more specific. And he said, "My dear girl, we have stations all over the Earth, but certain code is not coming from any of them. We are receiving signals from intelligent beings on other inhabited worlds. My friend then told me that Marconi at that moment was in Australia conducting experiment and trying to discover more about this momentous happening. They believed the signals were coming from the planet Mars. I have never mentioned this experience before, and I believe Marconi kept his work secret because he knew what the world would say. The lady who had the above experience lives in Santa Barbara, California, and is a respectable citizen of that city. Later in the 1920s and 1930s, more strange messages were received throughout the world as radio was developed. And radiotelegraphic messages from saucers are being received today. The first radio contact with space visitors was reported by our research group in Arizona in 1952, and now contact is being made in Ohio, Iowa, Canada, California, Detroit,
Wow.
Michigan, and other places.
Damn.
The contact is in both code and voice. Space intelligences have said, God provided, man divided. Man has taken this true thing and added to it his own ring. After the period of the great influx, science went a long way toward abolishing age-old theological dogma, but it went too far to the extreme and man became bathed in the new glories of the materialistic scientific world. Man on earth had always delighted in dividing everything. There are continents, nations, states and commonwealths, counties and townships, cities and villages, wards and blocks, churches, cults, sects and isms, races and creeds, classes and clubs, societies and shrines, cathedrals and temples. But the infinite Father is one. Earth has been divided up so that instead of man being a brother to his fellow man, he has set up artificial lines to separate and segregate others different than himself.
All right. And that's
Man-made
going on all over
boundaries,
the world.
man-made creeds and ideals, man-made religious groups, man-made doctrine and dogma, man-made. There is nothing wrong with religion, it's what man has done to and with it that's so pitiful. Science is the twin sister of religion, truth cannot contradict truth, and there is no religion higher than truth.
All right. Hey, that right there, that's a bar. Write that down. A lot of y'all, you studying it on your research, you start understanding a little more. You feel me? That's what I'm here for, man. So y'all make sure y'all pay attention.
Worship of the Creator and the study of His laws, causes and effects. Of nature and the great powers waiting for discovery within her bosom, all these should be massed into one. Hence, science and religion are one, just as everything in the omniverse is one. When Van Tassel said, we must present to science, the religion of science, and to religion, the science of religion, he gave the key for understanding between the two great fields of human endeavor. To many people today, science is the modern savior or Messiah. They look to scientists and their discoveries for the answer to all of mankind's ills. Recently reports said that soon we could live forever through the latest discoveries in biological science. What fools these mortals be, indeed. We already possess immortal life. Thousands of spiritually hungry people have come to realize that the facts unearthed by science have not thus far been adequate to satisfy the needs of humanity, and many today are searching for something. Orthodox theology has failed also to satisfy their deep longings, and orthodox science presents only cold, bare materialism to them. There are, of course, many scientists and theologians who are sincere, honest men, working tirelessly to aid men on this planet. But, at the same time, we must remember that all scientists are not men of science, and all theologians are not men of God.
Right.
Men are most reluctant to give up their secure, comfortable positions and pet theories. Desmond Leslie once said, I'm convinced that the orthodox scientists of today are the counterpart of the orthodox theologians of the Middle Ages. Be that as it may, orthodoxy is the same thing wherever it is found, and it doesn't matter by what name you prefer to call it. Once in a great while a man comes along, or a woman, and although usually despised by their contemporaries, they manage somehow, by supreme effort, to haul all the rest of lagging humanity behind them, and what we call worldly advancement or progression takes place. In Of Flight and Life, Charles Lindbergh says, to me in youth science was more important than either man or God. I worshipped science. I was awed by its knowledge. Its advances had surpassed man's wildest dreams. In its learning seemed to lie the key to all mysteries of life. It took many years for me to discover that science, with all its brilliance, lights only a middle chapter of creation.
I think that's true, man. I ain't gonna lie. That's why I love science. I love biology too. But I think that's true, gang, because a lot of people, you feel me, don't got time to study science and think, yeah, of what they find out. Like this.
Saw the science I worshipped, and the aircraft I loved, destroying the civilization I expected them to serve, and which I thought as permanent as the earth itself. Now I realize that to survive, one must look beyond the speed and power of aircraft, beyond the material strength of science.
Right.
And, though God cannot be seen as tangibly as I had demanded as a child, his presence can be sensed in every sight and act and incident. Now I know that when man loses this sense, he misses the true quality of life, the beauty of earth, its seasons and its skies, the brotherhood of men, the joy of wife and children. He loses the infinite strength without which no people can survive, the element which war cannot defeat or peace corrupt. Now I understand that spiritual truth is more essential to a nation than the mortar in its city's walls. For when the actions of a people are unguided by these truths, it is only a matter of time before the walls themselves collapse.
Right.
The most urgent mission of our time is to understand these truths, and to apply them to our way of modern life. We must draw strength from the almost forgotten virtues of simplicity, humility, contemplation, prayer. It requires a dedication beyond science, beyond self, but the rewards are great and it is our only hope. All theology and science will not be done away with in the new age. But under the incoming golden dawn, man will acquire a greater concept of creation, free of ancient ritualism and the carried-over pagan ideas. Likewise, man will enjoy more radiant health due to the habit of right living and right thinking. Every man will be a scientist, even as space visitors are true scientists, utilizing the forces of the universe in the ever upward, spiraling climb toward divinity and the Father. The elder brother, Jesus, said, "Know ye not that ye are gods?" Man will wake up to this fact, and will leave the pupa of ignorance, superstition, dogma, orthodoxy, etc., to emerge as a son of God, claiming his rightful place in the divine scheme of things. Man is a co-creator with the Father, but he fails to recognize this great truth. The great scientists of Columbus' time were no less great because they believed Columbus to be a fanatic for thinking the earth was round. The mistakes of yesterday or today only point the way to the greater truth of tomorrow. With each new discovery we gain a greater comprehension of the whole. Everything changes, but change itself.
Right.
Let that change come. The earth has been waiting a long, long time. 4,000 years ago, Job asked, "If a man die, shall he live again?" This question has been repeated in vain by every generation of men who have since inhabited the earth. Now, space intelligences bring proof of life everlasting, and eternal progression. In Conquest of Fear, Basil King gives us a view of the future world when he says, "Taking Jesus as our standard we shall work out, I venture to think, to the following points of progress. The control of matter in furnishing ourselves with food and drink by means more direct than at present employed, as he turned water into wine and fed the multitudes with the loaves and fishes. The control of matter by putting away from ourselves, by methods more sure and less roundabout than those of today, sickness, blindness, infirmity and deformity. The control of matter by regulating our atmospheric conditions as he stilled the tempest. The control of matter by restoring to this phase of existence those who have passed out of it before their time, or who can ill be spared from it, as he raised 3 young people from the dead, and Peter and Paul followed his example. The control of matter in putting it off and on at will, as he in his death and resurrection. The control of matter in passing altogether out of it, as he in what we call his ascension into heaven. Yes, it is true that God provided man divided, but man on earth must go back to the whole which the Creator made manifest unto his creation. Remember the words of Paul, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings, and oppositions of science falsely so called." 1 Timothy 6 verse 20. The truth alone shall make man free, and as Bacon said, truth is the daughter of time, not of authority. 2. The Grand Man. In the universe of infinite entities and infinite variety, man is found manifesting in many degrees from microcosm to macrocosm. In the theory of Paracelsus, the microcosm was man, as if combining in himself all the elements of the macrocosm or great world. This theory in turn reminds us of Swedenborg, who spoke and wrote so often about the Creator as the grand man of the omniverse containing all the elements of the microcosmic world. From the smallest unit of creation to the most gigantic, there is a spiraling, circular progression. Early explorers went west to get east, and so in the microcosmic world lies the answer to what the macrocosmos is like. Darwin said, "An organic being is a microcosm, a little universe, formed of a host of self-propagating organisms, inconceivably minute and numerous as the stars in heaven." A. Bronson Alcott, in 1877 said, "Matter in particle and planet, mind and macrocosm, is quick with spirit." So, we find matter manifesting and vibrating from minute to the monumental in various degrees, but spirit permeates through all. In the great world of the macrocosmos, is it not logical and entirely possible that there may exist worlds so large in comparison with ours that their individual total masses may be millions upon millions of times that of Earth? And, if we grant that, is it not reasonable to say that in the small world of the microcosmos we will find the direct opposite? In other words, atomic worlds containing real intelligent beings who live, work and love even as we. For some time now scientists have been well aware of the fact that there is a universal pattern of form in the minute that is duplicated exactly in the colossal of creation. Space visitors have said, it is not right that man should destroy his brother by utilizing the powerful forces of atomic energy, but the destruction you witness is minor, indeed, compared to the enormity of chaos created in the microcosmos by the release of such energy. When an atomic bomb is detonated, literal microcosmic worlds containing created life are destroyed. Of course, these worlds are in other dimensions of time and space. What we think of as a minute may be the passing of 1,000,000 years to the microcosmic citizen. Infinity covers a lot of territory, and we can easily have worlds and life so minute that we average 5'8" cannot possibly see them with our organs of sight. If we accept this fact, we must also agree that there must be bigger worlds and bigger life forms. In fact, these forms could be so large that we couldn't possibly see them, and that brings us back to the microcosmos. In considering the present space visitations to Earth, we encounter saucer occupants similar to ourselves in size and form. We do not find spacemen coming into Earth's atmosphere landing their craft on a pinhead or saucer pilot so large that they displace all the water in the Atlantic Ocean if they decide to take a dip. The reason certain space people are here and not other inhabitants of the cosmos is because our infinite Father has sent those brothers to us who are most nearly like ourselves in appearance and bodily size. After all, contact is difficult enough in a corporeal world without adding to the problem by sending a highly developed being who would have to announce the universal doctrine to us from that pinhead or lovingly lead us like a swift and Lilliput. The space friends here now may be far ahead of us in spiritual development, but they are probably more nearly like us than other dwellers in the cosmos. Before the consideration of similarities existing between matter and energy from the subatomic, microcosmic, through the astronomical, macrocosmic, levels is discussed, it is important to conceive of what matter and energy are. Very recently, it was taught in our universities that most of the atom as well as most of the starry universe was empty space. Now, finally, physicists are uncovering the facts that show matter and energy to be the same thing, though they cannot really understand how such a situation can exist. Their facts confuse their theories, and they find themselves forced into retaining theories they now know to be inconsistent with the facts, for lack of any better theories. Empty space is a dead concept, for where is there no starlight? Yes, even starlight is matter and exerts pressure. Science has discovered that the famous little particle called an electron sometimes exhibits itself more as a particle and sometimes more as a wave. This is true also of the other so-called particles of the atom and of the universe. A particle can be an electron, other atomic particles, an atom, a moon, a planet, a sun, a solar system, a galaxy, a supergalaxy, and so on, ad infinitum.
Mm,
All creations,
I never knew that.
particles, in the universe are similar because 1. All of them discharge energy. This might be considered as reference to fields of force, emission of rays, waves, frequencies, vibrations and forces. Briefly then, how can one picture something having both particle and wave properties at the same time? It is done by thinking of them as shells within shells. Some of these shells are visible to the eye as the Earth's crust, the layers of an onion, the skin of the body, or the wheels within wheels of saucers. Some are visible with instruments which have determined the wave nature of electrons and other particles which emit quanta of energy. Some are detected by special photography as the four known fields of vibration around the human body and the atomic and molecular structures of various crystalline bodies as obtained by the British physicist, W. L. Bragg. The kind of motion that these shells exhibit determines what the effect of that energy is to be. Heat, for example, is a wave pattern made up of a series of particles given off in quanta by an electron. It might be called pure energy moving with a peculiar kind of motion. The nature of the motion determines the effect produced, which can be any of the following: non-visible light, visible light measured as heat, or cold light. Remember that visibility and invisibility and the sensations of heat and cold are only sensations of the physical structure. Thus the real meaning of the term light is far beyond what is visible to the eyes. The term light is used to designate the wave nature of all matter, its energy and its motion. 2. In order for bodies continually to discharge energy, they must continually absorb a new supply of energy. Thus the universe consists of constant interchange of energy resulting in 3. A perpetual rhythmic expansion and contraction. For example, it is only possible for comets to travel at their terrific speeds for long periods of time because they are constantly replenishing their energy through their tail, and this energy is from a sun. Now let us consider the tremendous likenesses exhibited by primary bodies, beginning with the smallest we can detect, the subatomic. Subatomic particles, and when we say particle, we must think of particle wave, for the two concepts are inseparable in speaking of basic structure, are to be considered in this discussion as particles that science can know only indirectly by their behavior. Thus, heat energy given off by an electron might be comparable to satellites of the electron. Thus the electron gives off electromagnetic radiation, which produces effects on varying portions of the spectrum depending on the kind of motion. Perhaps these particles are those quanta of electromagnetic radiation which have been called photons and/or gamma rays. These rays, like X-rays, are without an electrical charge and are therefore not deflected in electric or magnetic fields. Gamma rays are electromagnetic radiation of very short wavelength and high energy. Photons or energy vary in their velocity and thus energy according to the kind of radiation to which the matter emitting the photons is subjected. If the radiation is in the high-frequency end of the spectrum, then the photons will have a higher energy. In other words, the energy of the photons emitted by an electron subjected to electromagnetic radiation is related to the energy of the radiation, but the energy is emitted in distinct quanta. Photons are too small to detect experimentally in the high-frequency portion of the spectrum. They are only detected in that part of the spectrum below visible light. Photons or gamma rays by interaction with atomic nuclei have been converted into pairs of electrons and positrons, positively charged electrons. This materialization is a good example of the.
And y'all, don't let this be too much information for y'all, man. I know a lot of people can catch all this information. A lot of y'all, you feel me? It's too much for you to gather up. And like I said, this book is quite long. It's a lot of knowledge in this book, a lot of gems and jewels to drop. So, I'm gonna do an hour, at a time on these vids. Hour at a time on these vids, and hopefully we can get the most knowledge in that's possible, gang. Hopefully we can get the most knowledge in that's possible. But y'all want to look up some more of that right there? Because right now I done ran close to my hour, man. 54 minutes in. Brother gotta go to bed, get some rest. Y'all can go check out. I said it's called Other Tongues, Other Flesh. And I'm gonna continue this book tomorrow, man. I'm gonna do another live. Like I said, I'm back with these books most definitely, because knowledge is power, man. And knowledge is everything. You got to know about yourself, know about your surroundings, know about who we is, where we come from, the power that lies within us. Feel me? The true planets, the true stars, all this stuff, man. Anyway, I love y'all, man. Y'all make sure y'all keep your head up. I'm out.